Hello and welcome back into Night Talk. Once again, my name is Eric Loprete. You are listening to Annunciation Radio, and we are certainly glad that you joined us here on this Saturday morning. Hope you're having a wonderful weekend so far. Today's show is it's a little bit different. While this is a show that is devoted to the ongoings of the Knights of Columbus in the Toledo Diocese, we certainly never want to turn away our brother and sister Catholics who are involved in other groups as well, especially when they are as old and established as the Knights of Columbus, but are still continuing to carry the message of Jesus Christ and God and fraternity. And to help me do that, we welcome in Mr. Robert McMahon, who is the Grand Knight of Council 386 from Monsignor O'Connell, as we are discussing the Ancient Order of Hibernians that was founded in 1836. So, very interesting episode today, and I'm certainly looking forward to it.
Well, thanks, Eric, for having me very much.
Absolutely, and I was even more interested because I know this is for Irish Catholics, and I do have a little bit of Irish in me. I did do the genealogy exam. I don't have.
I have an application in my pocket.
Oh, do you? Okay, all right. I wasn't as Irish as I thought I was, but I was still Irish nonetheless. So
very good.
I am. We are certainly looking forward to this interview, and we were going to get right to it. But first, as always, we want to begin in prayer. We want to thank my wife Katie Loprete for providing this prayer. So we'll start in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Dear God, in my moments of weakness, grant me strength. When I feel lost, guide me. Help me face the challenges before me with confidence and faith. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you so much, Katie, for that prayer. And, that prayer, Robert, real quick, before we dive into this, confidence in the fact that...
You know what confidence actually means? It means to go with God, right?
I did not know that.
Confideo, go with the faith of God, go in the faith of God. Confidence, that's what it really means.
And that's exactly what we should be doing, especially as Catholics. That's it. You see, this is why I got you on, because you know the things that I don't. Anyway, so thank you once again, Katie, for that prayer. And, let's go ahead and jump right into it, Robert. So, we had talked briefly about this a few months ago. We're finally able to get the interview on the book. So I'm certainly glad that we were able to do that. So let's just kind of start from the very beginning and set the table for everybody. The Ancient Order of the Hibernians, that was founded in 1836. Now, as I understand, this was an organization that was set up for Irish Catholics. Is that correct?
Correct. So, the Irish were one of the early Catholic groups that came to the New World. And, when they came here, they were not always welcome. They were not always given the opportunity of schools. They were not always given the opportunity of jobs, etc. This had come over from the old country, right? So under English rule, the penal laws, there were very anti-Catholic laws in place in Ireland. And there were a great number of different societies, fraternities, etc. in Ireland where the Catholics protected themselves and each other, from where they could be harmed or harassed for being Catholic. So in the United States, 1836, you have kind of simultaneously in Pennsylvania and New York, large groups of Catholics who are working in the mines, working on the railroads, working on the canals, and being the general manual labor, immigrants who were not always welcome because they had a different belief system. They were Catholics and not Protestants, and they banded together in order to try to support each other and to acclimate to the New World. So in 1836, you had a lot of anti-Catholic sentiment in New York, for example, and what they did was they got together not just to protect each other, not just to bring the immigrant into the environment of the New World, but guarding their faith. And so during the Know Nothing riots, the Irish Catholics in New York had to protect the church. They had to protect the priests, and they would stand guard with guns and pitchforks and et cetera outside the cathedral in New York, when it was going to be attacked by the Know Nothings. And so we have, from our very beginning in 1836 all the way up through now, have defended the faith, defended the church, and protected each other. As a Catholic Irish organization, you must be Catholic, you must be Irish in order to be a member of the Hibernians. We are in Canada, the United States, Ireland, England, Scotland, Wales, and Australia. And right now, I think we still have about 40,000 altogether. We don't have as much immigration anymore to the United States as we once did in terms of Irish Catholics. So we don't have quite as much of that new blood coming in, but we have a lot of visibility around the country as time has gone on and the Irish have diffused throughout the country. We're in 48 states, and we're still doing that work that we started 190 years ago.
First thing that popped out to me because I mean you just unloaded a history book of information.
It's a lot of stuff there.
So to unpack some of it, the first thing that jumped out to me was how much it seems like the Hibernians, obviously they were around before the Knights, but their story seems to be very similar to how the Knights of Columbus were formed, because as we all know as Knights of Columbus members, Father McGivney was helping the poor, especially those that were immigrants that came into this country, and he banded those people together in order to help support one another, especially when there was a loss. So is that one of the things that kind of attracted you to the Hibernians, or was it maybe all the way around?
So being Irish and being connected to, the Irish parish is St. Patrick's downtown. I was not a parishioner at St. Patrick's, but my family always every year for, the high holy days, especially St. Patrick's Day, but other holy days, we would go back to St. Patrick's, even though it was not anybody's parish, right? Because of the connection to the Irish. So I have no doubt that Father McGivney was very well aware, obviously having already been in existence for 50 years, of how the Hibernians operated. Our meetings, our setup, our degrees, they are eerily similar. And so if anyone is, and we have quite a few, we have members who are both Knights of Columbus and Hibernians. That is very common. And nationwide, there is a huge overlap between Hibernians and Knights of Columbus that I'm sure he was aware of that. And he said, this is a good thing for the Irish. Why can't we make this about everybody? I am sure that he was aware of the Hibernians and has taken the idea, obviously, and the Knights have a much bigger footprint than we do.
But still, I mean, I think it's the fact that these programs were in existence, I mean, certainly must have helped these people out.
Definitely.
I mean, let's face it. We're talking about 1839. We didn't have a Catholic president until the 60s.
1960. Who he was a Hibernian. John F. Kennedy.
Really?
John F. Kennedy was a Hibernian. Yeah.
So he was both a Hibernian and a Knight of Columbus
yes, sir.
member. Oh my goodness. Okay.
As Cardinal O'Connor was as well, and quite a few other Irish bishops and cardinals that have been through the years.
For all history lessons, please contact Robert McMahon. No.
So in Toledo, for example, we had at one time, we started with, I think, 2 divisions. We were called divisions instead of councils. In 1884, we had 2 existing divisions in Toledo, down at St. Patrick's, and I think one over across the river as well. We had as many as 4 at one time, but we are down to 1 division. The division is basically like a council. So for Toledo, we have 1 division, and it operates almost exactly like a Knights Council does.
Excellent. One of the another thing I wanted to kind of point out in the descriptions and in the history that you're giving us today is the rich tradition of how immigrants have built the Catholic Church. I mean, this is when you really think about it, it was immigrants who really brought the majority of the Catholic faith to the United States, and I think that's very fair to say. But then not only that, once they got here, they really started up the Catholic Church, and that's kind of amazing to think about.
Yeah. So at one point, one of our brothers decided he wanted to put together a book of all of the stained glass windows that had been provided by the Ancient Order of Hibernians throughout the United States, and it was manifold. I mean, there were hundreds of stained glass windows, right? Well, the church wouldn't have been built without the Hibernians' input, without the Knights of Columbus input. I'm sure the Knights are responsible for many, many windows throughout the United States and statues, et cetera. I mean, we do the same thing. And to that end, we just completed a project right here in Toledo down at Queen of Apostles School. Our division of the Hibernians were the major donor, but our council, 386, was also one of the other larger donors to the brand new and first of its kind installed statue, life-size statue of Blessed Saint Carlo Acutis. The students down at Queen of Apostles School, they really loved his message and his identity, and they came up with their own statue that was created, molded. It's a life-size statue of Carlos sitting on a bench with his computer, his rosary, his Bible, prayer books, and with his soccer ball. And it is a fabulous statue that is in place now at Darby, Immaculate Conception down on Broadway. And there will be a shrine there for him, but it is a wonderful example of how the Knights, the Hibernians, and the mostly Hispanic Queen of Apostles School all work together to share this Italian voice story and in order to be a model for all of us as to how to live the Catholic faith.
What does it mean when you see the different groups of Catholics come together? And because I want to talk about the statue here for a few minutes. And I guess first off, what was the genesis of the idea to have that statue? Is that something you guys have been planning?
No. So the school down there, obviously the Immaculate Conception and St. Patrick's parishes that are twinned are Irish in nature, but the neighborhood around the South End now is Hispanic, right? And so the school, which a lot of folks don't know, even though it's an inner city school, has a very high percentage of Catholics because there are a lot of kids that go there from the Hispanic background and go to Queen of Apostles School. And so they wanted someone who could represent them and they could see as being, a saint that they could model their own lives after. Sometimes it's difficult to model your life after someone who lived 1,000 years ago, but it's easier if someone is more like you. And so, his story was very, it awakened a sense of the church in them and their faith. And so they came up with this idea, and it started small. And as they got into it, the size and scope of the statue got larger and larger, and they realized that they couldn't raise enough money themselves. And so they reached out to the Hibernians and to the Knights in order to help them with that statue.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, that's, this has been a wonderful interview so far, Robert. Thank you once again for joining us. We are sitting here with Mr. Robert McMahon today, who is currently, the Grand Knight of of Monsignor O'Connell Council in 386, as he is discussing the Ancient Order of the Hibernians. This has been a wonderful historical episode so far. We should have had some different music. But anyway, we're looking forward to the second part of this interview, and we'll be right back right after this here on Annunciation Radio. You're listening to Night Talk.
This is Dale Ahlquist with a Chesterton Minute. How many times have you heard someone talk about how important it is to be progressive? Have you ever asked them what they mean by that? G.K. Chesterton says, "Progress is a useless word, for progress takes for granted an already defined direction, and it's exactly about the direction that we disagree. We can't have progress until we've stated what our goal is, and then we can determine whether or not we're moving closer to it or farther from it. The real question is not whether we are progressive, but what is our goal? My goal is to get to heaven, and to help others get there too. What's yours? Want Chesterton for more than a minute? Visit our website at chesterton.org.
People are talking about Annunciation Radio.
Driving the car and you've got the radio on, it makes you think more of Jesus. I tend to pray as some people go by. I just feel like they need a prayer.
Faith with Frequency, Annunciation Radio.
Well, welcome back into Night Talk, everyone. Once again, my name is Eric Loprete. As always, we're here on Annunciation Radio. We're having a wonderful interview today with Mr. Robert McMahon, who is the acting Grand Knight of Monsignor O'Connell Council 386, as we discuss the Ancient Order of the Hibernians. We're going to have a lot more on that interview here in just a few minutes, but let's go ahead and take a look at our council announcements. The Priest Appreciation Dinner is April 29th, 2025 at Greystone Hall in Perrysburg. Dinner is $40 a person, or buy a 8-person table for $320. Please contact Chapter President Matthew Stapleton for more information on that. We also want to remind you that St. Joe's of Sylvania will be having a pancake breakfast on March 2nd after morning masses. Bowling Green Council will be hosting a fish fry on March 7th in the St. Aloysius Gymnasium. St. Rose Council will be hosting a ladies' night out on March 1st. Doors open at 5 p.m. If you'd like to volunteer, they're requesting the volunteers show up at 4:30. District 61, covering the councils of Rossford, Bowling Green, St. John the 23rd, St. Patrick and Lewis, and River East Mother Teresa, will be having a district meeting on February 19th. Please contact District Deputy Eric Loprete, which is me, at 419-508-9304 for details and location. There is also a e-membership incentive drive for councils until March 31st. Councils that recruit new members via e-membership using the Ohio State Council Parish Bulletin blurb will have a chance to win a $200 Amazon gift card. To qualify, please enter the names of the e-members recruited and a copy of the parish bulletin to State e-membership coordinator Greg Singler at gsing50@gmail.com. The bulletin insert can be found on kofcohio.org/membership. The State of Ohio Bowling Tournament will be in March in Toledo. We are still looking for volunteers to help us with the tournament. Please contact Dave DeGener or Rick Mitchell if interested. And finally, we also invite you to join the Toledo chapter on April 24th at St. Pat's of Heatherdowns, as they will host a Meet the Candidates night at the monthly chapter meeting. Attendees will get a chance to hear from and ask questions to both gentlemen running for state warden, Mr. Stu Vetter and Mr. Greg Singler. And that will do it for council announcements. However, we want to bring our producer Tim in because he has an announcement of his own.
All right. We want to remind you about the second annual Faithful Warriors Banquet that will be held at Parkway Place Event Center, 6 to 9 p.m. on Thursday, April 3rd. We're going to honor our Faithful Warrior Award recipient is Bishop Daniel E. Thomas, our own bishop here in the Diocese of Toledo. And our keynote speaker, he has the most popular podcast in the country, Father Mike Schmitz. But once again, we look forward to seeing you at the second annual Faithful Warriors Banquet, Parkway Place Event Center, 6 to 9 on Thursday, April 3rd.
Excellent. And Tim, you know what? I one more thing, and I was looking it up this week. You're a radio guy, so yeah. I think you'll appreciate this. I have a radio joke for you. Would you like to hear it? Okay, all right. So
we usually save that for Wednesdays here on with Hump Day Humor on our morning show. But go ahead.
Well, a little early humor here on Saturday morning. Why did the radio go to school?
Why did the radio go to school? I have no idea.
Because it wanted to increase its frequency of knowledge.
Save that for your lovely wife, okay?
Oh my goodness. Okay, well, we are going to get back to our interview here with Mr. Robert McMahon, who is the Grand Knight of Monsignor O'Connell Council 386, as we discuss the Ancient Order of the Hibernians. We've had a wonderful interview so far, and looking forward to the second part of this. Now, Robert, before we kind of go back into other things, we've discussed a lot here this morning, so, but I know there were two things in particular that you wanted to make sure that you got out there, and I guess first we'll start with poster contest.
Yeah. So, not to be unlike the Knights of Columbus, the Ancient Order of Hibernians also have a program that is run. It is the St. Patrick's Coloring Contest. And so it is available for any children grades kindergarten through 4th grade in Northwest Ohio, any school, any children who would like to color a picture of St. Patrick and share our Irish cultural and Catholic history is able to fill out a poster and send it in. The winner, the grand prize winner, wins $100, and each grade level has a $25 prize as well for first place. So 5 places overall, and we will be unveiling and showing the winners of each of those at our annual St. Patrick's Day Festival. So at the St. Patrick's Day Festival, which will be held March 15th, at St. Patrick's of Heatherdowns in their gymnasium there. It will be from noon until 10 p.m. We sponsor a family-friendly St. Patrick's approach to the holiday, right? A lot of folks go out and maybe get overserved, and it's more of an adult-natured set kind of a thing, unfortunately. But we really focus on the family-friendly aspect of it, being connected with a Catholic church, as well as we have entertainment for the children. We have our children who are involved in the dancing, the Irish traditional dancing. So we promote that, and we have classes available for those who are interested in that sort of thing. And we raise money. Of course, every Catholic organization is raising money always as a fraternity. The proceeds, we try to support those who are in hunger need in our community. The Irish left Ireland primarily because of famine conditions there. And so even though we're relatively small, as I mentioned in number earlier, the Hibernians fed over 1 million people in the United States last year, collectively through all the divisions. Here locally, our proceeds from our St. Patrick's Day Festival go to help the food pantry down to Deacon Tom Carone Food Pantry, who is a Hibernian down at St. Patrick's Historic downtown. And that particular food pantry, I believe they help serve over 800 people a month with food need down at St. Patrick's Historic. You know, it's often forgotten because, you know, people don't live down there anymore, but there are people that do live there, and there are people in need that live down there.
Now, and I'm sorry if I missed anything, but how long have you guys been running the St. Patrick's fundraiser?
We've probably been doing this for about, I haven't been around for 30 years, but I think it's been between 25 and 30 years. I might be a little bit wrong. I wasn't here when it started. I've only been a Hibernian for about the last 20 years, but we've been doing it for the last 20 years. I can tell you that.
So, I mean, you've pretty much been there for almost
the whole thing. Not quite, all right. We're doing it for a long time. It has moved around. It used to be and we've moved from different places. We used to have it at Central Catholic years ago, and we had a pretty big success there at the time. They've kind of clamped down on doing those sorts of events at Central Catholic, but now we're at St. Patrick's of Heatherdowns.
Excellent. Now, one of the things that you mentioned that you guys do there is dancing.
Yes.
Let's talk about that for a second. And obviously these are traditional Irish dances.
Correct.
But where did the dancers come from? How did they, just take us through that?
So, the dancers come from all around. There is a group, it's called the Ardennes Academy of Irish Dance, run by John Heinzman, and also supported by Dr. Tom McCabe, who is well known in Catholic circles around town and fundraisers and that sort of thing. He's a podiatrist here in town. He created a nonprofit just to support dancing, and that's a whole nother show entirely.
Yeah, absolutely.
But he runs a fesh, which is an Irish dance festival, and that happens in August, and it's Irish dancers from all over the Great Lakes. It's a 5-statewide fesh, where we have about 600 dancers from around the Great Lakes come to celebrate Irish dance. But in Toledo, we try to showcase them at our Hibernian events. And, then of course there's the dancing event in the summertime that, Dr. Tom runs. And so we try to support anybody else. It's again, this cross group sharing, anybody that is promoting, healthy, cultural, faith-filled, Catholic, generous, charitable things. We try to be in all of it, as it were.
One of the things, that I kind of picked up on when we were talking about it, you said all over the Great Lakes region. I think that just goes to show the impact that the Irish, community has had not only in Toledo, but all over the United States as well. If we have dancers that know these dances, I would be very interested to see that.
Yeah, the Catholic Church in the United States has been influenced by the Irish because there were so many that left Ireland. So many were in really bad conditions. They were starving. They needed to go somewhere, and America allowed them the opportunity to grow and thrive, and they brought their faith with them. And if you look back at the parishes, at the bishops, at the Monsignor, everybody throughout the church, the cardinals, there are a lot of Irish there, a lot of Irish churches, and they've diffused throughout the country. Because we haven't had a huge number of Irish immigrants more recently, but their impact of the Irish in the Catholic Church is unmistakable throughout America.
You are a part of several Catholic groups in the area. The Hibernians being one of them. One question that I would have for you though is, you're obviously a Knight of Columbus member. You're a Hibernian. I know that you're involved in other groups as well. I know that you do a lot of work with the German American Festival. What does it mean to you that you're involved in all these groups with all these people, but yet we are all still serving the same God, the same Jesus Christ? We are all still trying to be part of this community. What's that mean to you?
So the important thing is that we can all do the work, but there's a different flavor. It's sort of like you don't eat the same food every night of the week. So if I'm involved in the Hibernian Society and we're doing something with a little bit of an Irish flavor, it doesn't mean, which we do have knights that help out. When the knights, when we're doing something as 386, the Hibernians come, right? We have crossover members. When I'm doing something at the Bavarian Benevolent Society, we have crossover members, right? And so we have some who are members of all three, or even the Slovak Ladies Association, which you don't have to be a lady to be a member of, but that's a long story too. So there are a lot of these Catholic organizations that it's the different flavor, right? The variety is the spice of life. And I think all of them provide a valuable connection to our past, our culture, our faith, our history in a way that we can all work together and show that we can all work together in this melting pot of the United States to share our values.
Well, I'll tell you what, Monsignor Council certainly has a very good Grand Knight that's leading them, and somebody that's very knowledgeable, and it's certainly very refreshing to see, Robert. So thank you very much for being on the show today. We've got about 30 seconds left, and do you guys have anything real quick that you wanted to just make sure you got out there for the Hibernians?
We are certainly willing to accept anyone who is Irish and Catholic into the organization. You may contact me wherever you happen to find me. But again, our biggest wish is that everyone is doing their part wherever they can, however they can.
And with 20 seconds left, if you had one question ask Jesus Christ, what would it be and why?
Where do you want us to serve next?
Amen, brother. And that should be a question for every Knights of Columbus member. Robert, thank you very much for joining us here today. If you want more information on joining the Order of the Ancient Hibernians, you can contact Robert McMahon at
419-902-6559 or AOH Toledo on Facebook.
Excellent. Thank you everyone for joining us. You've been listening to Night Talk here on Annunciation Radio. We will see you next weekend.